Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our very first county council meeting and the last one of the year. We'll call the meeting to order.
Moved by Councillor Gowdy, seconded by Councillor Leonard. Resolved that council resolve itself into committee of the whole closed session as authorized under section 239 of the Municipal Act to consider adoption of closed minutes of meeting held September 21, 2022. Information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board by Canada, a province or territory or crown agency of any of them, as it relates to the Howe Island ferry operations, and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board as it relates to the Howe Island ferry operations.
Any comment? All in favor? Carried.
Until Bruna gets us back up.
Okay.
Are we good with that? Moved by Councillor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Lichty, resolved that council rise from committee of the whole closed session without recording.
All in favor? Carried. Well, there is no approval of addendum, so yeah, gotcha. I think at this time, what I would like to do is, I think we should just take a moment or two of a minute of silence to recognize Jerry Martin. I think that's only fair.
Thank you.
Thank you. I also think, seeing this is our first county council meeting, and maybe the public are really engaged and know everybody. However, I think it would be appropriate if we just go around the room, and if council wants to introduce themselves and who they're representing, I think that would be appropriate, and we'll start with Councillor Anderson. Saunders, because I knew I was gonna get it wrong, sorry. Councillor Saunders.
Thank you for the opportunity to open this up. Thank you for the opportunity to open this up. So my name is Bill Saunders, resident of Howe Island. I was successful in running for office and received the most votes. So by bylaw or whatever, I'm now the deputy mayor of the township of Frontenac Islands.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Nikki Gowdy and I'm representing Central Frontenac and I'm from the Godfrey area.
Welcome.
Good morning, I'm Judy Greenwood Spears. I'm the mayor of Frontenac Islands and resident of Wolf Island, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
And I'm Frances Smith, Mayor of Central Frontenac, a returnee over and over again, and maybe this might be the last 4-year term, we'll see. I'm glad to be here and glad to welcome all of the new folks to the table.
Hi, my name is Ray Leonard. I represent South Frontenac Township. This is my second term, and I have a lot to learn yet. Thank you.
My name is Fred Fowler. I'm a Frontenac councillor in Ward 3, and I was alternate. I've been here a couple of times representing, filling in for people, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad to be back. I really enjoyed this council.
Good morning, my name is Jerry Lichty. I'm the mayor of North Frontenac. I'm absolutely pleased to be here, and I look forward to learning so much and to working with each of you successfully. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And I'm Ron Vanderwall. I'm the warden this term, and I'm mayor of South Frontenac. And we look forward to try to work together and make things happen. So hopefully this is a good year. Yeah. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, adoption of minutes.
Moved by Deputy Warden Smith, seconded by Warden Vanderwall, resolved that the minutes of the special council meeting held January 17th, 2022 be adopted.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried.
Moved by Deputy Warden Smith, seconded by Warden Vanderwall, resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting held October 19th, 2022 be adopted.
Any comments? All in favor? Carried.
Moved by Councillor Greenwood Spears, seconded by Councillor Saunders, resolved that the minutes of the inaugural council meeting held November 30th, 2022 be adopted.
Comments? All in favor? Carry. We are going to move into committee of the whole.
Moved by Councillor Leonard, seconded by Councillor Gowdy, that council adjourn and meet as committee of the whole council with the deputy warden and chair.
All in favor? Okay.
You might be missing something here.
This is the switcheroo.
No, I got that. It was the coffee cup coming across.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to garbage.
I don't blame you, yeah.
It's actually a teacup. All right, we have adoption of minutes, we finished that. Here. We have Mr. Kelly Pender, our Chief Administrative Officer, to do his monthly briefing. Kelly.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Brandon, are you okay to? So just a bit of background for new council members. Each month I will provide council with an overview of activities around the county during the past 4 weeks. Generally, I'll just touch on a couple of highlights on each page, but the report is there for your information. And should you have any follow-up questions, certainly available to follow up. And our commitment to you is if we don't have the answer immediately available, we will get back to you. So with that said, just a little bit about my schedule, and as council is aware, we're into union negotiations on a number of different levels in the last 6 months or so. So we have all 3 unions currently in collective agreement negotiations, and our Director of Human Resources will be providing an update in January on where we sit. The other thing I'd like to note is our lean training. We had 10 new participants in our lean training in this very room last Wednesday and Thursday. A very diverse group from across the organization, and they'll be bringing forward projects for consideration, and the final report will be brought to council when they've completed the Yellow Belt training and projects.
Do you just want to talk a minute about the lean training, what it involves?
Yeah, so lean training it's actually Lean Six Sigma, and lean is about removing waste, and our manager continuous improvement is in the room. So it's about removing waste from process, and our commitment to staff is that it's about removing those things in your day-to-day work life that are detrimental to you doing an efficient job. It's not about reducing the number of staff levels. We like to say that when God isn't creating more time, we're trying to make a better use of time. So some of the examples of projects we've looked at, everything from ferry loading to what we used to call the blue form of death, which was how somebody changed their personal information in HR record. Paramedics have looked at how they stock materials and their best use of materials. So a number of different projects, several that cross the entire organization. So it's another way of getting people together to meet people from other departments and to say, we do the same thing, we do it a bit different. We had a project regarding e-waste, and it turned out that one department was paying to have e-waste removed and the other was getting it removed for free. So guess what we did? We moved to the one that was doing it for free. So it's a good opportunity for staff to receive some training. And it was a recommendation from KPMG when they did the organizational review in 2013, and we have had township participation in the process as well.
Jerry?
Do you prefer that we ask questions now, or you want us to wait at the end of the report? Okay, so can we go back to the collective bargaining? When are the contracts up?
Sorry, they are all up.
So all up?
Yeah, at this point, we are beyond the end date of all 3 of our contracts.
And do these union groups have the right to strike, or is it?
Ferry workers do, and paramedics do.
Okay.
Long-term care workers in our admin group, which is our QP 2290, do not, so that would go to arbitration.
Thank you.
And there are 3 unions?
three unions, two QPs and one OPSU.
No one?
Brent?
The paramedics, are they not an essential service like police?
No, they aren't. So they are considered an essential service, but we're required to sign an agreement that would stipulate what the staffing levels would be in the event of a strike. So that is, both parties work on it, but it is subject to arbitration, and we do have, and it's called a RSA,
Essential services.
Essential Services Agreement.
Do you think we're going to conciliation for two of the unions at this point?
That'll be subject to the January in-camera update from the director.
Okay. How is,
Sorry.
sorry, just.
Okay, remember to use your microphones.
Yeah, mine, oh, here we go, sorry. I guess a question for the CAO. It's my read that morale on the Howe Island Ferry staff is low. Several reasons for that. Can you provide any kind of update on the next steps and when, is it possible to predict when we might be able to get to some resolution?
I'm sorry.
You have to turn your mic off now.
That's a matter for closed discussions, and the director will be bringing that forward in January.
Okay, shall we move on?
So thank you. We're members of two much larger municipal service corporations, the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, which is the 13 upper tier municipalities in Eastern Ontario, from Haliburton and Northumberland in the west to Prescott, Russell, and Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry in the east, and Renfrew County in the north. So we've had a number of strategic planning meetings with the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. The annual general meeting will be in January here in Kingston. And the Wardens Caucus priority for 2023 is all around providing housing, and we'll be proposing to the minister at the Roma conference in January, 7,000 new rental units in Eastern Ontario within 7 years. So it's a big project. And we are essentially a shareholder in the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, represented by the warden each year. And we'll be bringing back further reports on that, but we'll be meeting with Minister Clark, as well as a number of other ministers at the Roma conference. The Eastern Ontario Leadership Caucus is our economic development arm. We did not have a December meeting. There will be a meeting early in the new year. But the Eastern Ontario Leadership Council is essentially a municipal service corporation that looks after regional initiatives around economic development. So for example, labor market information, regional transportation studies. And over the last 3 years, they've received about $3 million worth of funding from the provinces and feds to do regional economic development. So you hear more about those particular groups. We also provide you with summaries of some of the AMO communications, and again, I won't go through these in greater detail. Many of them will be more pertinent at your member municipality or your local municipality. But there are a number of changes coming. Particularly, we expect with the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability, the ODA, and this is the 4th independent review of that legislation. We are proud of the fact that we operate a regional accessibility committee, and we are compliant with all the legislation. The last round had a lot to do with service delivery and making websites and documents accessible for e-readers. So we are in compliance, and all of our member municipalities are in compliance. But again, every time they've had one of these reviews, there have been substantial changes. Next one, please. There are funding announcements regarding municipal transit systems, and I know that South Frontenac is working with the City of Kingston, Gananoque, Leeds, and Thousand Islands and Loyalist Township, looking at regional transportation issues. So that is mainly targeted at traditional transit systems, which is not how North and Central are serviced. And I think Nikki could provide us with a better description of that. But, you know, the province does recognize the regional transit initiatives and is providing funding. Next, please. The Roma conference, and I believe Brianna sent out background information last week on Roma, and if you plan to attend, you can attend on behalf of your own municipality or on behalf of the county. So if you haven't registered yet, I encourage you to do so. It is, I think, a better learning environment than AMO, which is the summertime. All municipalities, the Roma is more focused on issues that are more pertinent to our municipalities. So strongly suggest that if you have the time in January that you attend and to do that. As you're aware, we are in the process of completing our administrative building redevelopment. Like every construction project in Ontario, we are behind schedule. We were looking at sometime early summer moving in, and it now looks like that's going to be fall, or maybe even the end of the year. Shortage of different materials, difficulty with labor. We found more asbestos than we believed was in the building from our preliminary inspection report. So there's been a number of different delays. We're still within the total amount of our contingency, save and except the asbestos, and our treasurer brought a report forward in October on that issue. So we'll provide updates as we go on. Human resources continue to be pressured by the health human resources issues. On any given day, we've got about 40 external openings throughout the organization, and it used to be that it was hard to hire a couple of different professions, and now it's pretty much hard to hire anybody. Our labor relations issues are listed there. And the HRIS project that we did jointly, we received joint funding along with the County of Leeds and Grenville. We hope to go live early in January.
Judy, you have a question?
Yeah, on the number of postings that it made me wonder, what is our turnover rate? And that in general and in specific areas, and that where are we experiencing the highest turnover?
Right. Yes, the director.
Yeah. So last year turnover was a little higher during the pandemic, in around 13%. Prior it was 11 and change. But what you see there, the high number of postings is because we post a job, somebody goes into it, perhaps internal, and then it creates a ripple effect. So there could be several related postings to that one vacancy. So that's why it's such a high. Typically, we hire in from outside about 75 to 85 new hires external per year.
So is that primarily Fairmount Home that's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And also that would include additional staffing for funding for pandemic and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Next slide, please. Just a bit of an update on, this is complicated, a bit of an update on Frontenac paramedics. So a number of different things. We've commenced the palliative care medical directive study. Community paramedicines have administered over 675 COVID vaccines and 100 influenza vaccines. And the chief will be providing an update during our county orientation in the new year. And we're currently onboarding 3 part-time paramedics. We were hoping to get 12 to 15. We received through the hiring process, we're at 3. And just a shout out to our paramedics who have led a food drive and a toy drive on behalf of the community.
Quick question, where did you?
Use your microphone.
Use your microphone.
One more time? Just a quick question, where did you recruit the paramedics from? Did you go as far as Kitchener-Waterloo, or was it just local at St. Lawrence or up to Ottawa, whereabouts?
I think we take them from wherever they apply, but yeah. That's correct. Turn your mic on.
So when HR sends out the recruitment, we go through a number of websites that capture all of Ontario. So there's through the Ontario Chiefs, through the Paramedic Chiefs of Canada, through all of the schools. It's advertised widely so across the province, and even one of the new recruits is actually from British Columbia.
Okay.
That's a long way.
Community.
Especially if you're commuting.
Have you ever tried active job fairs in the colleges that are graduating?
Yes.
Onward.
There's a report on today's agenda about the report on the left, the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus update. So that report was done in 2019, and it predicted about 4.5% increase in paramedic calls in Eastern Ontario, which was consistent with what the report on the right, which was our human resources plan completed by ORH. So as a group, the paramedic services are going to update that report. And it's about $4,300 per service. So we will have new information in the new year as to where we stand with call volumes and wait times and how we compare across Eastern Ontario. So this will be invaluable in helping us plan. We still suspect that at some point in the next couple of years, we're going to have to redo the 10-year plan to look at deployment. We continue to work with the city of Kingston on space needs. We are partnered with Emery Woodbine. They're looking at new stations in the East End as well, which could make things easier. And as you know, we broke ground on a new station at 2069 Battersea Road. So the good news is the one on the left is going to be fairly inexpensive, and we'll get that information early in the new year, and that'll help us shape, the timing and the depth of the study to update the 10-year plan. So Matt's provided a number of statistics with respect to our website and engagement across all digital channels. We have 40,000 engagements in November. 65 hours of watching time on YouTube, and 374 users recorded on the county YouTube channel. The top video was the Fairmont Home Remembrance Day ceremony and the inaugural council meeting on November the 30th. Around Frontenac, you can see that our top performing social posts related to business and business development and the paramedics and GIS, and the economic development team has been busy with business awards and meeting with businesses, and a lot of their posts have significant traffic. Planning update, Central Frontenac zoning bylaw was updated on October the 25th, and the appeal period has closed. The bylaw is now in full force. Big congratulations to Central Frontenac staff who worked tirelessly behind the scenes on that project, supporting their consultant, and our GIS staff and planning staff who also supported the project. And to get through a zoning bylaw of that magnitude was a significant update with no appeals. It is truly amazing.
Judy? What was the zoning bylaw? They're just being new, I have no idea. Just out of
Oh,
curiosity.
it's a document. It's about everything. It's how every property is labeled in the.
But was it a massive shift from residential to industrial? Or, yeah.
No, basically you zone what's on the property. And ours was an update. We didn't throw out the old one. We just updated the original one to the new regulations.
So just a bit of background in planning hierarchy, there's the Planning Act, which is the law. The provincial policy statements, which is the policy direction of the province. The county official plan, which is the general direction for the county. The township official plan, which is the general direction for the township, and the zoning bylaw. So the zoning bylaw is very much on the ground, what you can do on your 1 acre or your individual lot.
Thank you.
The Marysville secondary plan was approved by county council on October the 20th. There'll be additional work and public engagement on the future design standards and an update to the zoning, but again, that was the subject of probably 2 years worth of work by township and county staff to get us there. So, and of course, a lot of input from the community. There's also the implementation of provincial legislative changes. Bill 13, 109, and 23, and both the counties and the township should expect more information from planning staff, and there is a report on our agenda today. While they will be updates to our official plan, essentially they're mandates from the province, so there isn't much we can do other than accept their recommendation and implement it in our plans. Sonia has provided us with an update on the month for planning. Applications for the north remain steady in November. Central's Committee of Adjustment meeting was canceled. In terms of new applications submitted, through the end of December, we were at about 67%. So have seen a decline from the peak in 2021, which was the first year that this will be the first year in 4 or 5 that we've seen a decline. And I think that's mainly economics and interest rate cost related, but there has been a decline in volume. Economic development continue to encourage local seasonal shopping. I was in Verona and Charlotte Lake and Sydenham yesterday, and the team has signs up everywhere, has been doing a lot on social media in terms of promoting, next slide, promoting local shopping, and in particular, the KMP Trail continues to receive a lot of activity. Yesterday, when I drove by the Verona Trailhead, it was packed with Ford F-150s and trailers, and the groomers were out yesterday, which is particularly early time for the groomers to be out, and we look forward to a busy snowmobile season and encourage snowmobilers to stop and shop locally. So, thank you.
Any questions or comments on Kelly's report that we didn't ask? All right, we will move on then to reports, corporate services.
Moved by Councillor Saunders, seconded by Councillor Greenwood Spears, be it resolved that the Council of the County of Frontenac receive the corporate services amendments to bylaw 2018-0032 regarding remuneration of members of council and non-council appointees to statutory boards and commissions report for information, and further that the Council of the County of Frontenac pass a bylaw later in the meeting to amend bylaw 2018-0032, being a bylaw to authorize the payment of remuneration to members of council and non-council appointees to statutory boards and committees, to delete Schedule A in its entirety and add a new Schedule A attached to this report.
Okay, any questions or comments on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried.
Moved by Councillor Lichty, seconded by Councillor Fowler, be it resolved that the warden and clerk be authorized to enter into an agreement with Explorer Solutions to lead the 2023-2026 Council Strategic Plan, and further that the administration committee be responsible for providing direction and feedback to the consultants during the 2023-2026 development process.
Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried.
Moved by Councillor Gowdy, seconded by Councillor Saunders, resolved that the Council of the County of Frontenac receive the Corporate Services 2022 Fairmount Home Accounts Receivable Write-Offs Report, and further that Council authorize the treasurer to write off accounts totaling $1,067.78.
Questions or comments? Judy?
I actually had a question on the previous,
Put your mic on.
sorry, I actually had a quick question just on the strategic plan one that we just went through. And there might
We're,
be
we're
two.
on a new motion,
Okay,
but if it's a question that the CAO can answer,
okay, the question is,
after, not now,
okay.
but later. All right, so any questions or comments on this motion? All those in favor? Motion's carried.
Moved by Councillor Greenwood Spears, seconded by Councillor Leonard. Resolved that the Council of the County of Frontenac receive the Corporate Services Interim Approval of 2022 Expenditures Report, and further that Council direct the Treasurer to continue to pay payroll and discretionary expenses in accordance with the amounts approved for the 2022 budget and non-discretionary 2023 accounts as invoiced until such time as the 2023 budget has been adopted.
This is rather just a housekeeping issue. Any questions or comments? Jerry?
Just a question, so this has to do with staff increases and so on. Is it paid, or when is finally decided, is it paid retroactively to staff to the beginning of the year? Or does it start the day that is actually approved? I guess at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. Whatever you're paying, like from March to March, are we gonna go back and start retroactively pay the beginning of January 1?
Alex? Jerry, turn your mic off.
Oh, sorry.
Jerry, go.
So three Deputy Warden. So this report is really just to continue the expense that were approved for 2022. So no wage increases would be approved. That would be part of the 2023 budget. So once the 23 budget is approved, generally then at that point, the wage increase will be retroactive for the full calendar 23.
Thank you.
Just a slight clarification of that too, is that the vast majority of our employees are unionized employees, still subject to union negotiations. This doesn't apply to the 30-some non-union. I think the rest are dealt with through collective.
Warden Bendel?
I was just gonna make a comment. We'd be real popular if we told Alex he's not allowed to pay them.
If you can blame him, that's good.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried.
Moved by Councillor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Lichty. Resolved that the Council of the County of Frontenac accept the Corporate Services 2022 Canada Community Build Fund Distribution Bylaw Report, and further that the clerk be directed to bring forward a bylaw to authorize the distribution of the Canada Community Build Fund allocation to the townships for 2022.
Any questions or comments on that one? Fred? Shut yourself, Jeanette. Okay,
Did work the last time. I guess.
do it again.
Do it again.
Jeanette, shut hers off.
Do it again.
There we go.
Okay, yes, these funds are from the federal tax, for the road tax. Is
Gas
that correct?
tax.
And, this money, when it goes, our portion for North Frontenac, will that go towards, does it have to go towards our roads, or does it go towards anything else?
The same rules apply to this as apply to your local gas tax. So this is just because we don't run a road system, we give it to you. So that is a decision of your council, but you still have to comply with the rules of the province and as administered by you.
So yes to the roads. Okay, all those in favor? Carried.
Moved by Councillor Leonard, seconded by Councillor Gowdy. Resolved that the Council of the County of Frontenac receive the Corporate Services Delegation of Authority of certain powers and duties under the Municipal Act and Planning Act report, and further that the clerk be authorized to bring forward a bylaw later in the meeting to amend bylaw 2016-006, authorizing the delegation of certain powers and duties under the Municipal Act, the Planning Act, and other acts by deleting Schedule B in its entirety and replacing with the following. So the warden is delegated as the head of the municipality for the purposes of MPIPA. The clerk is delegated the power or duty granted vested in the head pursuant to MPIPA. The Director of Planning and Economic Development is delegated the authority of final approval for plans of subdivision and condominium. The Director of Planning and Economic Development is delegated the authority to authorize applications for part lot control approval. The clerk is designated as the contact person of the municipality for the purposes of PPIPA. and the Integrity Commissioner is delegated the authority of council's powers to impose penalties for contravention of the code of conduct.
Any questions or comments on any of that? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor?
Moved by Councillor Saunders, seconded by Councillor Greenwood Spears, resolved that the Council of the County of Frontenac receive the Corporate Services Approval of County of Frontenac Emergency Management Program and Emergency Response Plan Report, and further that the Council of the County of Frontenac pass a bylaw later in the meeting to adopt an emergency management program and emergency response plan, and to meet other requirements under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act attached to this report as Appendix A.
Any discussion? Kelly, maybe you would just for a moment want to speak about the COVID and the emergency declaration we went through.
Yeah, and actually, COVID is actually a really good example of where regional coordination is very important. The mayors and wardens of the 3 counties and member municipalities in the city of Kingston, we met every week at the beginning and every second week as things began to stabilize, to develop local communications and reporting. But in my time, I've been through probably 8 or 10 other emergencies, flood related, ice storm, power outages. And the role of the county in those emergencies is a support role. And we're required to declare emergency if 2 or more of our member municipalities declare an emergency within our support role. And that power rests with the warden, and at the lower tiers it rests with the mayor to declare and undeclare.
And it seems every time I'm the warden, something happens.
Yeah, we won't go there.
Maybe that's a sign.
Maybe that's a sign. Okay, any other questions or comments on that motion? If not, all those in favor? Motion's carried.
Moved by Councillor Lichty, seconded by Councillor Fowler, be it resolved that the Council of the County of Frontenac receive for recommendation the Office of the CAO authorization to enter into an agreement with Apex Pro Consulting on behalf of EOWC members report, and further that the County Council authorize staff to enter into an agreement with Apex Pro Consulting to provide a partial refresh of the 2019 EOWC Paramedic Services Situational Review.
Any discussion on that motion? Jerry?
What was the value of the original contract?
75,000. Oh, sorry. I think it was 75,000.
Okay, so this essentially is a follow-on agreement. I understand why this is happening. Effectively, the knowledge is there, so now you're going to carry that on and do it. What happens down the road, 3 or 4 more years when we do this again and again? So does this contractor or consultant end up with a contract for life, so to speak? Or at some point in time, are we going to go back to the public and say, do we have a different approach? That's all.
Sorry, I think the feeling of the paramedic chiefs was that the information was valid and was very well put together, and that this update is necessary because we're going to be entering into negotiations with the province of Ontario. We need to know what's on the ground happening. Having said that, I would suspect that at some point 2 or 3 years down the road, or 5 years down the road, we'll want to do another one that would be probably publicly tendered, but that would be the Warden's Caucus decision to make.
Thank you.
Judy?
When it talks about the partial reflex of the refresh of the paramedics, is that related, and I'm just wondering whether we have gotten to a regional road network piece, and if the scheduling piece that has been involved with paramedics in relation to other services, and that, for example, the ferries, if that's what the refresh is about, or not at all, just around the reallocation of the area for the service of paramedics.
Sure. And perhaps it'd be best if I sent you a link to the old report, but essentially it's a statistical review for each paramedic service to talk about how many paramedics they have on the road, what's the value of their assets, what is the response time, and a prediction of the amount of growth, because that growth will come back to this council, and this council will have to develop a plan to address the growth.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All those in favor? Motion's carried.
Moved by Councillor Gowdy, seconded by Councillor Saunders, be it resolved that $16,000 from the capital replacement reserve is to be allocated for the County of Frontenac's portion of the purchase of a 50,000 liter water storage tank.
Discussion. Fred?
That's a large tank. Is that located inside the building, or is it put up high, or it's like a water tower or something like that?
It's in ground. Both Susan and Danny, who's our environmental services manager, here, can give you more details. Susan, do you want
Deputy Warden, yes, the storage tank is an in-ground, so it would actually be a third storage tank. We have 2 existing storage tanks. I think you'll note in the report that we are seeing some water challenges with the 2 existing wells, which is the reason why we have installed a third well. And we feel that that third well also requires the storage tank, just to ensure we have the water stored to meet the residents' needs as well as the office staff needs, but it's primarily the residents' needs on a daily basis.
Okay. All right, no more questions or comments. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we are now at reports.
So the report of the Planning Advisory Committee, moved by Councillor Greenwood Spears, seconded by Councillor Leonard, that the report received from the Planning Advisory Committee be received and adopted.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried.
And the report of the Frontenac Accessibility Advisory Committee, that the report received from the Frontenac Accessibility Advisory Committee be received and adopted.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried.
Moved by Councillor Leonard, seconded by Councillor Gowdy, that council revert from committee of the whole council to council.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried.
Good discussions. We have a motion for it.
So we're at the adoption of the report of the committee of the whole. That's moved by Councillor Saunders, seconded by Deputy Warden Smith, that the report of the committee of the whole council be adopted and that the necessary actions or bylaws be enacted.
Questions? I have one question. When you're saying bylaws, are you voting on the remuneration bylaw and everything?
Yes,
Okay, I need that one pulled out.
so when we get to bylaws, you can ask
Oh,
that one.
down,
separate.
that's why I was asking now. Okay, thanks. Any other questions other than me? All in favor? Carried.
So this is a notice of motion regarding the Howe Island Ferry Communications and Accessibility, moved by Councillor Greenwood Spears, seconded by Deputy Warden Smith. Whereas Howe Island in the township of Frontenac Islands has approximately 600 full-time residents plus seasonal residents and visitors. And whereas the residents and visitors depend upon the county-operated Frontenac Howe Island Ferry at the west end of the island that operates 24 hours per day, and the township-owned ferry that operates 18 hours per day at the east end of the island, whereas both ferries are subject to routine and emergency operational interruptions, whereas residents are now advised of interruptions for both ferries via the following: immediate email notification through constant contact. Currently, there are 485 active subscribers which is managed by the County of Frontenac. Immediate Twitter notification at Powell Island Ferry, currently 1,216 active subscribers, which again is managed by the County of Frontenac. Accessible webcam managed by the Township of Frontenac Islands. Live animated traffic signs managed by the Township of Frontenac Islands. And whereas the Mayor of Frontenac Islands, Councillor Greenwood Spears, desires to see improved ferry communications and accessibility for those with low vision, low technology savvy, and low cognitive ability. Now therefore, the Council of the County of Frontenac directs the Chief Administrative Officer and the Communications Officer in consultation with the Frontenac Accessibility Advisory Committee to prepare a report identifying options and costing, including but not limited to issuing a media release, advising traditional local media such as radio stations and CKWS news lines when the interruption has been brought to the county's attention, and when known more than 3 days in advance, then advising the WIG standard of expected interruptions for addressing the concerns of Councillor Greenwood Spears.
Comments? Councillor Deputy Warden Smith.
Whatever my name is. I seconded this motion because, one, I'm not sure exactly what all the communication is at this point. I think given the way things come down to us, we're doing the best job we can, but I'm just wondering if with staff's report to us, if there might be something that we're missing. I know that often the CKWS News and the Case of WIG doesn't really care much unless it's happening in the city, but whether or not we have to pay for doing those advertisings, or if we can get a reporter online to actually pay attention to us. But it'll be interesting to see what we do now and what possibly we could do.
Does any staff member want to answer that, or? Nothing? Okay. Councillor Greenwood Spears.
Just a further explanation that news release would not have to be paid for, and that is basically a fax that is sent out to the radio stations and the TV station, and it would basically reiterate what is being sent out on the internet. My late husband, that was low vision, and so there are many people that suffer with macular degeneration, things of that nature. Looking at the internet or cell phones is not part of their daily routine. Turning on the radio is, looking at TV at night, things of that nature. So this is just meant to expand the opportunity for people to be informed, as well as the people that are coming into our area that might not be already on our list of internet. So if there's something going on that on the radio, it's up to them if they want to pick up the news release and say, by the way, such and such ferry is having its routine maintenance done today, and that is expected to go longer, something of that nature. And it's just meant for general information, not meant to add a large expense on it, but to expand it to those that aren't internet savvy or connected. Thank you.
Any other comments? I have a concern with bullet number 3. Accessible webcam managed by the township. If the township wants to manage that, I don't think I want to endorse it at the county level, because I think who is in charge of seeing who's doing what? I'm not going to be in charge for somebody, whatever, at the dock or whatever else, if they're managing the webcam. I don't think that's, I won't vote for this if that's in there, that the township's managing it and somebody's seeing that information. Or if they want to release whatever information, I don't feel comfortable supporting it. So I don't know if you want to amend it and take that out or do whatever, but that's my concern.
Sorry, so the indication of the accessible webcam and the live animated traffic signals that are operated by the Township of Frontenac Islands, that's just in a whereas clause, so it's there for information. The only piece being voted on would be that final result clause. So because it's in a whereas clause, it's simply there for
So
information.
just
purposes.
the bottom part. Okay. Okay. Any other comments? All in favor? Carry. Consideration of council appointments to the following committees.
So, through you, Gordon Vanderwall, these are the committees in which we need to appoint members of council. I did on the agenda attach each of the, mandates for those committees so that council could look at them and see if there's any that are interested in. So, just to get us started, I'm just gonna throw it out there for who would like to sit on, for example, the administration committee. So we need 2 members of county council. One of them has to be from the township of North Frontenac and one of them has to be from Frontenac Islands, simply because the makeup of that committee is the warden, the deputy warden, and 2 other members of council, and to ensure that all townships are represented. Central and South are already represented through the warden and deputy warden. So we just need a councillor from the islands and a councillor from North Frontenac. So I would.
Councillor Litchi.
Ricky, close. I would like to have, be nominated for the administration committee.
You'd like to be nominated? You couldn't get your counterpart to nominate you?
I didn't ask him. He's also my co-pilot, so I'm sorry.
There you go. So I guess, I don't think you can nominate yourself, so.
Guess I'll nominate Counselor Litchi.
That's moved by Councillor Fowler, seconded by, do you need a second?
I don't think we need a motion for this at all.
Oh, you don't
It's
want to do it
just-
that way?
Unless,
Okay.
unless both of them put their hand up, and then we would have a motion.
Okay, so moved. Anybody else that wants to nominate somebody for it? Councillor Greenwood Spears.
For Frontenac.
Oh, you're going
Already.
already for the other one?
Yes.
Okay. Fine. Do we need a seconder? You don't want that either?
Not unless.
Somebody else
Councillor
wants to
Saunders is
run.
interested.
So,
We'll do it at the very end.
you okay?
I support that nomination.
So you had her do. These are all 1-year appointments, I assume?
So that one would be a 1-year appointment simply because the warden and the deputy warden change on an annual basis, and we do have to ensure all townships are represented. So the next one is the Planning and Economic Development Advisory Committee. So this would be a 4-year term, and it is 4 members of council and I believe 4 members of the public, 1 from each township. So the public nominations go through the nominations process through the administration committee, but today just the council wants.
Deputy Warden Smith.
I would like to sit on that committee. I've been doing planning for a long time, and I think there's a lot that you need to know on that committee.
Anybody else? Councillor Greenwood
I
Spears.
nominate Bill Saunders for that committee.
Do you accept that?
I respectfully not accept the nomination. I, at this point, can't commit to the 4-year commitment.
Okay. Councillor Fowler.
I'd like to be on that committee.
I guess I should probably.
So we do still need somebody from the islands and somebody from South.
I guess I'll be on the committee.
I'd like to nominate Warden Mr. Vanderwall.
Fred, Fran, Judy, and Ron.
There are no other nominations, that's fine then. Then we'll go to joint Frontenac accessibility. Need 2 members from anywhere. Any volunteers or anybody want to?
nominate Bill Saunders.
He didn't put his hand up, I don't think. I hope you're not riding together, he's gonna thank you.
2 islands.
Councilor Saunders.
I'll accept that.
There you go. We need one more. We need one more volunteer or.
It doesn't need a lot, is that right? A couple times a year.
It meets quarterly, and the meetings typically for that committee will continue virtual simply because those on that committee face barriers to getting to different locations. But again, it would be the call of the committee.
Okay, we have a volunteer, Councilor Gowdy. Okay, unless somebody else really wants on there, then those are the two appointed. Administrative Building Design Task Force, 4 members of County Council. The reason this changed is because it used to be just 4 mayors. Those things with the rules changed last time, so. Yes,
I'd like to be on that committee.
Councilor Litchi.
Lichty.
Cheapers.
Hey.
Just think LIC in it.
I said it that time.
Put a K in it.
Just think LICKT, Lichty.
Let's see. Anyway,
Or Jerry.
okay,
No, that'll work,
Litchi.
right?
Okay, that's one.
Does it meet often, like what with the build happening?
You were on it.
No, I wasn't. I never attended the meeting.
It was, Alan. no,
Alan Rosell?
It
Bill?
was-
It was Tom
You were the chair.
Yeah, it was all 4 mayors.
No, that wasn't 4 mayors. The planning was 4 mayors.
I suspect we'll have 2 meetings, maybe 3 before the end.
I could do that.
Councilor Fowler,
Yeah, I wouldn't mind being on that.
anybody else? Councilor Greenwood Spears.
I'll nominate Bill Saunders.
Bill, you're gonna have to get a little bit quicker here and nominate somebody that you don't want on it.
I would respectfully decline it.
Now, Bill, you can only decline twice.
That's twice.
I'll vote Mr. Leonard. Do you want to sit on that?
Sure.
Okay. Yes, I'll accept. Okay, so that's the 4. Fair enough.
And
Thank you.
so the next 4 are external boards and committees that we send appointees to. So the first one there is the City of Kingston Housing and Homelessness Advisory Committee.
Councilor Gowdy,
I have an interest in that board.
okay. Would somebody, do we have to have nomination for external or did you do it the same way? Anybody else want on this committee?
I thought about being on it, but I'll yield to Councilor.
I'd say it's a big vote. If there's no one else, then Councilor Gowdy.
And the next one is the KFLNA Public Health Board.
Yeah. Councilor Greenwood Spears,
I nominate myself for that.
anyone else? Seeing no other nominations,
And sorry, the next one is the Food Policy Council.
any volunteers? We should keep it on the island, I think it was Bruce, wasn't it?
Yes. Bill should
I'm not
take that.
nominating Bill, but
Somebody can. You can talk to Bruce about it.
I guess I'll accept. I do have to apologize because I don't know exactly what their mandate of the committee is.
Oh, did I not attach?
No, you didn't. Okay.
Oh, I'm thinking they don't, I don't actually have their mandate. It was a committee that was established through KFLNA Public Health. I know we do provide them with funding annually, or they do request it. And they've done a couple of programs in trying to get food education into the school system. But I'm not fully sure of what their mandate is, but I can certainly find out.
Does the position have to be filled? Does the decision have to be made today?
I don't think so. The key one today was more so the administration committee so that I can get the committee going for public nominations. So we can bring this back. That works.
I don't want to guarantee anything, but I can guarantee it's not too old.
So
Is there something about this chair I've seen?
Well, it's one closest to the door.
So not to hold up the process, I'll accept that.
Okay.
Thank you. Kingston Frontenac Public Library, we need one member. Councillor Leonard,
let's go for
would you,
You're welcome to.
it. Doesn't matter to me.
well, don't fight over it. But do you want to vote or are you gonna agree to disagree?
You go ahead.
Okay. So it's Councillor Leonard.
I'll have to pick up all the duties that the warden can't do, so I'll be busy, I'm sure.
So we now have a motion moved by Councillor Greenwood Spears, seconded by Councillor Lichty, that Councillors Lichty and Greenwood Spears be appointed to the Administration Committee for 2023, that Councillors Smith, Fowler, Greenwood Spears, and Vanderwall be appointed to the Planning and Economic Development Advisory Committee, that Councillors Saunders and Gowdy be appointed to the Joint Frontenac Accessibility Advisory Committee, that Councillors Lichty, Smith, Fowler, and Leonard be appointed to the Administrative Building Design Task Force, that Councillor Gowdy be appointed to the City of Kingston Housing and Homelessness Advisory Committee, that Councillor Greenwood Spears be appointed to the KFLMA Public Health Board, that Councillor Saunders be appointed to the Food Policy Council of KFLMA, that Councillor Leonard be appointed to the Library Board.
Any other comments? Any resignations? All in favor? Carried.
Let's take it a chance.
Hold on. Councillor Lichty.
Not quite, lick tea.
I'm gonna be like Fran. Jerry.
That's perfect.
No, that's not fun.
Okay, I just have a request. There are a number of people in these various committees, most of us are new. Can the clerk, can the township, sorry, the county staff put together basically a cheat sheet saying, here are the committees and here are the members. So it's not buried in the minutes, but it's sort of separate, we can have that for reference.
Could the cheat sheet maybe be expanded to pertinent priority issues and that, so that we don't come in completely flat-footed and cold to the committees that have already been going on?
Is the clerk okay with all this?
So through you, Warden Vanderwall, there will be a bylaw coming forward at the next meeting. I couldn't put it on this agenda because I didn't know who was going on to it. So at the next meeting, there will be a bylaw because the administration committee will also have met. So there's a specific bylaw to external boards. In terms of the committees that you have so generously joined, thank you. In terms of our own advisory committees, all of those committee mandates are found in the procedural bylaw. And I will be going through the procedural bylaw with you in depth in one full meeting, but you will also be receiving a lot of this during the council orientation on January the 17th. So we will not leave you high and dry. We will ensure that you're very well prepared for the roles that you are going to take on.
Okay,
Ron?
hold on, let me try again. Councillor Lichty.
See, just, I want you to write down.
I wrote it down 14 different ways, but I still.
I want you to write down LICKT.
Okay, go ahead.
I still, that's all great. I'm just looking for one page that says administration committee, here are the 4 councilors that are on it, that's all. So someday I can look at here and say, well, who's on that committee without having to go through brings the paper. If it's not urgent, but sometime in the next couple of meetings, that'd be great.
I can get that for you.
Thank you.
I'd like to just add to that list, and that would be a contact phone number for each person on that list.
So if I could very quickly ask pursuant to NFIPA, do I have all of council's permission here to share your phone number and email with fellow councilors?
Yes.
And I would also like you to ask, if it's a phone number, if you could put a partner's name. Ask them if they want that, because I hate phoning there and say, hello, Mrs. Somebody there, or whatever. I find that very helpful on our own council, at least if you know who they are, you can go, hi, Ann, or hi, whoever is Counselor. But if you don't want it, that's fine.
Do dogs and cats matter?
Counselor Spears, Greenwood Spears.
In my case, I'm the only one at the house, so you can leave it on an answering machine and it's confidential.
And if nobody wants it, that's fine. If they do, I find that helpful. If you don't, that's fine. I probably won't call. Send me. Thanks. Okay. Then we will go to bylaws. Yes, that's under third reading. I would like G separated.
Did we vote on that?
On which one?
On flash motion, did we have a vote? It was read out, but I don't know if we all voted.
I have a circle carried, so
Oh, okay. I think we did.
And we did, and then there was some requests after.
Yeah, that's what got me a little confused.
do you want to call it again just in case?
Sure.
Just in case.
Any other questions? All in favor? Carry.
I know it got you when you talked about resignations.
First and second reading of bylaws.
Moved by Councillor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Leonard, resolved that leave be given to the mover to introduce bylaws A through H that have been circulated to all members of county council, and that bylaws A through H be read a first and second time.
First and second, all in favor? Carry.
Moved by Councillor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Leonard, resolved that bylaws A through F and H be read a third time, signed, sealed, and finally passed.
Any questions? All in favor? Carry.
And moved by Councillor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Leonard, resolved that bylaw G be read a third time, signed, sealed, and finally passed.
Any comments? All in favor?
This is G. Which one is G?
G.
The remuneration. Oh, okay.
Opposed? One. It's not recorded, just wanted to have it that it's opposed.
Okay.
Moved by Councillor Gowdy, seconded by Councillor Saunders, that the meeting hereby adjourn at 10:42 a.m.
Good job of keeping us on time. Anybody want to stay longer? All in favor? Carry. Oh, they're going.